Okay, so this is the second part of the watercolor tutorial. At this point, what you're going to be doing is digitally painting a sphere. So I'm opening Autodesk Sketchbook. The reason we're learning how to do this is because the next part of the assignment, which is the landscape, you're going to have to learn how to use shading and to have a better understanding of the materials. So this is a good exercise to kind of get that down, and a sphere is one of our most basic shapes, so it's always a good practice thing. First of all, you're going to select the oval. I have the black on because I'm going to do it in black and gray, but you can choose any color you want. I'm going to put the oval down. Okay, so there's my sphere. Now I'm also going to take the line tool and put a line across because I want it to be sitting on something. Ideally, you can also do this horizontally, so it doesn't really matter whether you're doing it horizontally or vertically, just whatever your preference is. I'm going to take my eraser tool and erase the line that goes through the sphere. There we go. Okay, so now my setup is exactly where I need it to be. So what I'm going to use is this brush, which is the watercolor brush. You can open up your library. These are the basic tools that you will definitely have. So I'm selecting this. Now, to do this, I am going to create a new layer. I want to make sure that my layer is below the black lines. This is so, for example, if I'm using red, so you can see it, the black line stays no matter what I color. If this box was if the blue box was above the black line, then it would go through the black lines. You wouldn't be able to see it anymore. You need to keep that there. So going back, I'm going to use black and gray. I want to also take this side, which is my flow, and move it down to 40%. What you want to do is use this flow because you want to make sure that you're controlling everything. Now, right before I do this, I am going to just select that black area again. And I'm going to just make a couple of notes. So first of all, my light source is coming from here. Okay, so that means any light that hits is going to come down here. Now I'm just going to add a layer to show you guys how this would work, and then I will make that layer transparent so it won't show up. Now, if you've taken the grade 9 or 10 course, you know how to shade shapes. The grade 11 course, of course, doesn't cover that, but we can do a really quick crash course on it. So when you're shading shapes, there are different sections you have to look at. This area, right where the light source is, and again, this is very rough, would be the highlight. That's because the light source is hitting it. This area, all around the highlight, to about like this is the mid-tone. So MT for mid-tone. And then this area closest to the ball, farthest from the base of the ball, farthest from the light source, is the shadow. All right, so once the shadow is there, once we have these areas labeled and we're aware of them, you can start shading. So I'm going to just delete those so you don't have to see it. I'm going to leave my light source up though. Okay, so there we go. Selecting the layer that's below all the black. Now I'm, again, got my paintbrush. I've got the opacity turned down, and I'm going to keep in mind that my highlight is right here and that my shadow is here. So we start at the bottom. Oh, I'm going to make my brush bigger. So start at the bottom. What you want to make sure you do is always follow the curve of the sphere, okay? Don't use dark lines. Once you've reached about this layer, this level, I'm just going to erase this here. Take this tool. So either this one or this one. These are your smudging tools. I'm going to take that one. I'm going to make sure it's pretty big. And then I am going to smooth all of this out. Okay, so this first smudging layer isn't really super finished. You just always have to make sure that you're moving in this circular. So I'm actually smudging in circles. Now, if you start in the lighter area and you move out, it's going to get lighter. If you start in the darker area and move in, it is going to get darker. So just keep doing it. Again, using circles to maintain the shape of the sphere. So it's almost like I'm doing huge smiley faces. I'm trying to smooth out the colors that I'm using. Okay? I'm trying to just get a smooth surface so that I can add more stuff to it. Okay, so if you look, it's all kind of that smooth gray right now. I'm kind of maintaining it a little bit, meaning my light source is right here. I'm going to take my eraser. My light source is right here. Okay, I'm just going to re-erase that to put it back in. And then my shadow is going to be right here. And I'm going to go back to my brush and I'm going to re-put my shadow in just by going like this. So if you look, there's pretty much a clear line. There's the bottom, and then there's the dark, and then there's the light, and in between should be that mid-tone gray. Okay, back to my smudging pencil. I am going to smudge this so that it creates a darker layer down here. Again, always maintain that circular shape. Okay, remember, if I come from this gray and I push down, it's going to lighten it up. If I come from the dark area and push up, it's going to darken it. So you just kind of go back and forth until you reach the appropriate level. Now, you should see right here, there's like a thick, it's like a pretty distinct line. I'm trying to smooth that out, okay? So I want it to look like the gradient is very natural, like it's naturally going from dark to light. And the way I do that is going back and forth. So I'm on the dark section, bringing it up. Now I'm on the light section, bringing it down. Okay, you do the exact same thing for the white highlight. Okay, so again, I'm making big circles. And I'm smoothing, I'm bringing them down. Then using the dark, I'm bringing it up. So you just keep going back and forth and back and forth. And then adding the highlight back in, adding the shadow back in until you reach the color you're looking for. So then adding my shadow back in. This time I'm going to go a little bit smaller. And then smudger again. Okay, and then again the same thing. I want to keep going back and forth so that the dark is still there, the light is still there. I'm still using some contrast. If you look right now, I'm doing the vertical sphere of the ball. Okay, and I can also make this bigger and just kind of like okay, so whenever you lose the dark, add it back in and then re-smudge it. And the idea is you're going back and forth and back and forth. What you're aiming for eventually is a smooth sphere that has all of these areas. So if you're looking here, I'm actually using circular motions to ensure that my areas stay the color they're supposed to be. And then I'm going to, again, use that circular motion to create the dark. Okay, so as per usual, this might take numerous times, numerous tries with adding and taking away and adding and taking away. This is a normal process. This is actually how the process works with real painting too, not just digital painting. It's always going to be a never-ending balance of adding and taking away. Okay, so the idea is this should not be done in 5 seconds. This should be a longer term thing. Once you've figured you're done or you need to clean it up, just get your eraser tool and go around the edges very gently to kind of tidy up that area so that you can get a better idea of what it looks like. Okay, so this is me tidying up. Okay. And eventually, if you're doing it right, you'll get to a color that you want. Okay, and it'll start to look like a sphere, like a shadowed sphere. Okay, right before you submit, do one more clean. Okay, and then save it and submit it to the Dropbox.